Hey guys, I'm so glad that you guys can be watching today. And if I asked you to put your hand in this bag, would you end up doing it? If you had no clue what was inside, if I didn't tell you, if I didn't show you what was inside, would you still do it? I don't know. What if something was crawling around while your hand was in there? Or what if something bit you? That would be horrible. I would feel so bad. But would you trust me enough to do it? I don't know. Many of you would say, no way, I am not doing that. I can't see what's in the bag. It's completely covered. There's no way I'm gonna put my hand in here. There's no way. And so many of you would say, no way, but this is kind of how we are with God sometimes. When God tells us to do something and he tells us that he's gonna be with us no matter what, we need to trust him because what's in this bag isn't even scary. It's just pineapple juice. Isn't that so funny? Because even if you put your hand in here, it might feel slimy or your hand might smell like pineapples for a while, but it's not gonna hurt you. And that's what happens with God sometimes. He tells us, hey, go do this. Hey, I'm gonna be with you in this, but I want you to be obedient to me. And sometimes we can't see what's gonna happen, so we end up not taking that path that God wants us to take. And when I think of a guy that trusted God with his whole life, I think of Moses. And if you remember last week, we talked about how Moses was spared from being killed. He should have died, but he didn't. And so let's go ahead and open up our Bibles. We're still in Exodus. So we're in the second book of the Bible. And today we're going to be in Exodus chapter 7, verse 14. And so once Moses was spared, he ended up being raised by the Egyptians. And Pharaoh's daughter took care of him, and it was crazy because he grew up in that lifestyle, but he was still a Hebrew. And so later on in life, he ended up leaving that. And he didn't like seeing all the Hebrews in slavery because they were being enslaved by Pharaoh, by all the Egyptians. And so Moses ended up leaving, and he was happy. He got married, had kids. He was living a good life. But then God appeared to him and said, I want you to go back to Egypt, and I want you to save all those people that are Hebrews. I want you to rescue them and bring them out of slavery. And that was a big thing for Moses. He was like, what? How are we going to do this? What is going to happen? It's kind of like he had to put his hand into something that he had no clue what was going to happen. Kind of like our object lesson, but he had no clue. He had to trust God through it all. No matter what happened, he needed to trust God. And that is a hard thing to do sometimes. But Moses put his trust in God because God is the one true God. He knew that he is the only one we can follow, the only one we can trust. And so Moses ended up going back to Egypt. He went back and he told Pharaoh, he said, let my people go. Like, it was so simple, but Pharaoh, his heart was hardened. He said, these people are mine. I am their master. They are my slaves. These people are mine, and I will not let these people go. So Moses trusted God, and God sent plagues after plagues to warn the Egyptians what was happening. And so the different plagues that God sent was the plague of blood. The whole Nile River turned to blood. There was the plague of frogs, the plague of gnats and flies, ew, and the plague of livestock, which is basically animals that were dying. That is horrible, isn't it? There was a plague of boils, which was like things that pop up on your skin, and it was really gross. There was a plague of hail, and the plague of lotus, and a plague of darkness. Could you imagine a plague of darkness where there was no light? There was no electricity back then, and so they couldn't just turn on the light and be like, oh, haha, God, you're fooling us. No, they couldn't even see anything. Nothing. They didn't have any street lights. They had to live in darkness. That would be really, really scary, wouldn't it? And so then there was one more plague, but we'll talk about that one next week because it is the worst one and the craziest one. But through all these different plagues, Moses had to trust God to let all these things happen because Moses couldn't do it on his own. And God wanted to use Moses in all of this. And each time that all these plagues happened, Moses kept asking, hey, let my people go, let my people go. But Pharaoh's heart kept getting harder and harder. And it's a crazy story, but just knowing that you can trust God no matter what is happening. Even if we don't know what's going to happen, and God wants us to do something, we need to trust him. We need to put our hand in the bag and to do what God says, because when we do what God says and we're obedient, he will bless us through it all. So this week, I want you to do something. I want you to ask God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do this week that is different and that I can step out in faith and step out of my comfort zone and do this for you, God? Maybe it's telling someone about Jesus. Maybe it is helping your mom when you don't normally do that kind of stuff. Different things. Ask him and you'll be surprised at what he says. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.